So, what do you think about polygamy and its impact on Nigerian society?
I think polygamy is extremely destructive to what it does to the family and the individuals who grow up in that family. I think looking at it from a standpoint of, having one man having multiple women, be it two or four wives, it reduces what a relationship should be. Okay, that kind of relationship should be between equals, especially when sex is involved. It's between two equal people who share, who give to each other. But if one man is equaling four people, four women, that means obviously it takes four to equal one man. The woman is less. It now objectifies the woman. And then the whole point is to have this woman just produce kids. So it's a very manufactural type of system, and reduces what the human being is about. And then you have the kids growing up with a wrong identity. You have strife, you have jealousy, you have hatred, you have all kinds of things that shouldn't be. So I mean, polygamy is pretty destructive. Pretty destructive.
So, how can we go about discouraging polygamy, especially when we look at younger generations of Nigerians who have grown up seeing their parents or their parents' friends, or just have a general sense that that is the normal behavior of a man or a woman also in society? How do we go about discouraging that sort of behavior?
You know what? The truth is, discouraging something would be tough, but encouraging people to actually live who they are would be a probable start. I mean, I sincerely believe that we all have a moral compass within us. We could decide, hey, this doesn't work for me, that works for me, but we all know what the truth is. And if people can begin to grow up responsibly and say, what is right? What feels right? What is right? As a woman, do you feel comfortable with the fact that you're going to be a second wife somewhere? If you don't feel comfortable, then why do you go into it? Why should someone else be able to pressure you to do what you don't want to do? Your mother, your auntie, your uncle, I don't care who they are, but you're not okay. You're the one who's going to be there and be a second wife, but you're not a number two, you're a number one. So why don't you see yourself and give yourself what you deserve?
So, your approach would be to actually not focus on the men who are practicing polygamy, but to focus on the women who are part of that relationship?
You know what? It takes two, but I'll tell you why I talk about the woman, because usually they get the shorter end of the stick. Okay? The woman gets stuck with the kids. Okay? A woman, after a while, after a woman has grown up, she bases her identity on her family, on what she can cultivate, what she can grow. So that means a lot to the woman. The family concept doesn't mean that much to the man in Africa. It means more to the woman. So in that, if you're going to define 50 years of your life based on the system, it better be what you want. It shouldn't be something you settle for. So if you decide, if you have some married man chasing you up and down as wife number two, number three, and you have purpose in your heart that, you know what, I'm going to marry someone who's single, I'm going to start my life with someone, that's what you would get. But you have to stand for what you want. And if each individual woman can make that choice for herself, we now have a collection of women who made a decision not to partake in polygamy. That collection of women becomes a little community. That community becomes a state. That state becomes a few states. That's how we change the community. But it starts from one person.
Well, what about situations where you've got mothers who are trying to influence their sons to cheat on their wives or bring in a second wife because the woman they're with has failed to produce a son? There's a very huge emphasis in not just Nigerian culture, but it's probably African culture and maybe even globally in other countries. There's a huge emphasis on the desire to have a male son who I guess will pass on the name of the family. What do we do about situations like that? How do we talk to women and discourage the women who are encouraging their sons to become polygamous in their relationships, and the women who are in relationships with these men who will potentially step outside of their married home?
You know what? I have nothing to say to someone who is encouraging an action. I have something to say to someone who's going to decide to take that action. So the question is why? if I'm a man and I'm saying I'm gonna step outside to have a son because my wife can have a son, the question is, why did I get married? Did I get married to have a son?
Some people do.
Well, that's the question now. You have to ask yourself. You see, before you get into anything, you have to know why you're doing it. Okay? So if you have an agreement, then the agreement should be, you know what, if we don't have a son, I'll step outside. But if that's not what you signed up for, why did you get married? Marriage should be something of love, not of, okay, I'm going to get this from you, and if I don't get this from you, I mean, you have to decide what. Most people don't sit down and really think of what they're getting into. They assume everything will be okay. So if the guy you're getting married to doesn't really love you, you're signing up for a whole bunch of baloney. But if deep down both of you know that, you know, I love you, you love me no matter what, or one, it takes the man to stand up and say, you know what, she's mine no matter what. But if he's not willing to do that, then I mean, you have nothing.
Thank you. Very interesting conversation. Thanks.
My pleasure. That was short.